with Marcus Miller. You just talk about his situation.
Not. It is disappointing because he worked so hard and he was doing well. But you're looking at I believe, and I mean this, I believe that he'll be back no later than when school starts. So I think he'll still be have 2 weeks before the Cincinnati game to, had a little clean out in his knee, and that was it. But Marcus had been having a good 3 or 4 days, and he got a good attitude. The surgery went well, so I anticipate him being back probably first day of school.
After the first 5 days of grinding and everything, a little day off, and then come back in full pads, how did they look today? I assume it's probably pretty physical practice today.
All I want to do is tell the truth, and I do, and it's hard for me sometimes on injuries and things of that nature. I get it, but if we had a terrible practice, I'd say it. But this was a wonderful practice. I mean, we did a lot of things. We got a lot of things accomplished. It was our first day in full pads. We did 3rd and 1. We had a low red area. We did goal line situation. We did 2-point conversion prep today. Team run, just a lot of things. There's a loaded practice, physical practice. We did pocket pass protection. 2 days ago, I thought we really had some good individual linebacker, running back drills in pass protection. I think it helped us tremendously on both sides of the ball. We had the tight ends and the D ends doing the same thing. Of course, the O-line and D-line were working one-on-ones at that point, but I think it really helped us. We were concerned a little bit about what you always are, field goal protection early in the year, and we had a individual period today in pods of tight ends and wings, interior and tight end wing on the other side. All those things, I thought our coaching staff did a wonderful job today of preparing that. But the kids, took advantage of their day off, and they really had a good spirited understanding how to practice against each other. For the most part, doing a really good job of staying out.
When you first come here, they were coming off 2-10, and they were 3-7. And I've noticed, doing this for quite a while, but other people have commented, it seems like there's a confidence among the players and the team this year that seems like it's real confidence. I mean, have you noticed that? I mean, it just feels like it's real.
Yeah, I think so. Real, I think, probably means there's more people that believe in the team. There's probably a few more, hopefully, there's a few more fans and there's a few more players and all that. But, yeah, I think there's a quiet confidence. That's kind of what you want when you're what you might call an underdog, or, there's a confidence of we need to show people, and that's kind of what we're about. But, yeah, I feel that about our squad as well.
Of course, I guess 9-4 doesn't hurt that, does it?
Yeah. No, well, I think if you beat some teams that, maybe we've struggled in the past of doing that, or beat some teams that they beat 10, 11 years ago, whatever that may be, then I think that always helps with your confidence.
Were you able to tackle to the ground today, or does that come later?
No, I don't know what I'm going to do there yet, Tom. I really haven't decided what we're going to do exactly in the scrimmage yet. We are doing some tackling, but not against each other. Obviously, an individual. We're starting to take our teach period and turn that into half of that teach into tackling. We've got a good football team, I believe. We've got a pretty good ball club. We don't quite have the depth that some of the other programs maybe in our conference do. So I'm trying to figure out. We'll talk about it as a staff tonight and then tomorrow, trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do on Saturday. But we've never tackled in practice except for the young guys, unless it was scrimmage.
Okay. In the team stuff that you saw, any particular people stand out, running back that got every one of his 3rd and shorts, or just
well, no, we went through a series in there of blitz and team force, and I thought that the defense was they wanted to get to the ball worse than we wanted to keep them away from the ball in those 2 periods. I felt that, and then I think we kind of bounced back a little bit on offense in the tempo period and in the red area period and down there in 3rd down and things and short and those things. And certainly the offense didn't win every one of them, but I think they competed a little bit harder early in blitz and fourth. I felt like the defense wanted to get to the ball worse than we wanted to keep them away, and of course we talked to them about that.
On the defensive tackle spot with Marcus, and you got Carter, and then Cam Ball's what he's got going on, and then I think Lewis maybe. Are you a little concerned about depth? What's going on there?
Yeah, sure we are. You know, the thing about that is, you know, we can move Gregory inside, which you guys been out there. We've done that a little bit, and so you have him and Nick, and then I tell you who's coming on a little bit is Nico Davier. We've moved because of these injuries. We've moved him inside, and he's done a nice job. Terry Hampton's been a blessing for us. I mean, he's really done a nice job in there. So I think it'll benefit us whenever all those guys come back. But Cam was playing well through 3 practices. I think it was practice 3. He went through the whole practice and then had the situation at the after the practice. But you know, those injuries there last, I don't know how long, you know, anywhere from 7 to 10 days, and that's all 3 of them, you know. So I'm really concerned about why we would have that happen at this point with skull caps and all that stuff. But we didn't have 3 in spring ball, so I know it's concerning.
We've talked a lot in camp about KJ kind of growing as a leader, but I wondered if there was a particular moment that you saw that happen, a conversation, or when that switch kind of maybe flipped?
I think probably the second half of the Rice game is when, I mean, he was our leader, but is when he kind of took the team over, and then you take that and add to the Texas game, and you know, that's whenever he won everybody. He won the fans, the state, the team, me. I mean, he already had me, but he really had me after that game. But he's such a likable kid, and he's not a let's go back the other way. He's a quarterback that is a running back. You know, he's got a mentality of physicality about him, a little bit to a fault, you know, when he gets in the open field. But you can't, it's hard to take that away from him. But I think the team likes him because he's in the physicality of practice now. I mean, of games. Obviously practice he's not, but in games he's part of that tough part of our football team, and a big part of that.
Everybody likes to talk about in camp is, you know, the strength and conditioning program, but I know you've been glad to keep Coach Walker around. So what is it about his approach that's maybe special or unique or really makes that work for him?
Well, he's a good person. He knows how to talk to people. He knows what he's doing. You know, his whole group in there's all certified, and you know, they have a lot of education, but they're good with people. They're good to people, and then once you do that, the expectations you have of them, they'll probably give it to you because they know you care about them. We do some different training, you know, than probably what everybody else does. We're a little bit different. We run and lift on the same days. It's just a little bit different philosophy that Coach has that has seemed to work for us.
Coach, going back to your defensive line, I'm curious what your impressions are of Landon Jackson and Jordan Dominic specifically.
Well, from the first 2 practices, and I'm talking about from an effort standpoint, Jordan Dominic is night and day. I mean, you know, he's been up on the film for the team twice, but because of effort, you know, I do a little thing, you know, in my meeting. I start it with effort plays, and that's bad effort or good effort. And he's been on there twice over the last 3 days, and He's very talented. He's kind of what we saw on film after the first 2 days, and I think he's going to really help us. Jackson's really long, a big, strong guy. Both of those guys were good gets for us, and we're happy both of them's here, and I think they'll just continue to work up the depth chart. But the guys in front of them playing well. Josh Stewart's playing really well, along with Zach.
Coach Guyton was in here the other day telling us about Jaden Hazelwood being kind of the vocal leader of that group. He was telling us that he's not really a vocal guy by nature. So what's that tell you about him, that he's kind of taking that role on, in a room that probably needs it?
He's been around the game for a long time. I would think it'd be kind of hard. Now, Felipe did it, but he did it because he was a quarterback, or part of it because he was a quarterback. You have to. But being a vocal leader for a transfer guy, I think at times would be hard early. It was hard for him early because he was in spring ball and trying to get the feel of everybody and all that. But I think he is vocal because it puts pressure on himself. I think he means what he says. What he says, I don't mean that, but I think he's a guy that if he says it, he got to back it up. In other words, hey, we have to do this, we have to do this, have to be. Well, if the guy's saying it, he's the one that's got to do it because I'm saying it. And I think he likes putting pressure on himself. He likes helping the team, but I think he enjoys pressure.
Sam, the coaches poll came out this week, and
Who?
The coaches poll came out this week. I wonder, when you're voting in that, is it difficult to, especially in the preseason, stay objective about your team as it compares to the other teams? I wonder, can you kind of give us some insight
Is it
into how
out?
you think about that?
Is
Yeah,
the
it came
poll
out.
out? What are we?
23, I believe.
23. It's no, it's really not. I mean, I look down in there and kind of figure out, where I think we fit and put it in there. It's hard preseason. I mean, because it's hard to tell who's going to have a good team, who's not, and all those things. You're just going off of returners and transfers and all that, and you don't always have to have the best players. You just have to have the best team on a Saturday, and that's really where the polls get all jacked up, because polls a lot in the preseason are off of this guy or that guy or this guy or that guy, and not primarily off of the entire football team.
Your offensive skill positions look a lot faster the
Yeah.
last couple of years. I wonder how much this freshman and sophomore classes how much would you say they've contributed to improving the overall speed?
I think they're still working at it. Jaden Wilson and Keytron Jackson are two guys that kind of stick out, right there. And but I've said it before. I like the young three that came in with Satagna and McAdoo and Bakke. I like those three guys, and Bryce Stevens is a year older than them. But I think we've hit on those guys. And this group of three that we have at wideout, and of course you're talking about Davinian too in a skill position, Tyrus Washington, those guys are all going to be really good players. But those three wideouts that we have learned so much faster than the guys before them. And that Keytron and them won't mind me telling it because I talked about it to them. But these guys like Mac and Satagna, not Mac, but Bakke and Satagna weren't here in the spring. And to be where they're at mentally after 6 practices is kind of incredible, because we're not slowing the insulation down for the freshmen that came in. I can promise you that.
More, are there any areas about your team that you feel like you've learned in the last week since preseason started, or any characteristics you thought you knew about them that have been reinforced?
Well, I think we've got good leadership. We've got good leadership on defense, and especially coming out of the secondary. I feel like we found a few more corners. I thought Drew Sanders was a good player, and he is. D-line, Terry Hampton's come on and going to really help us. That's a guy that we didn't know anything about coming in. On offense, most of the guys were here. I think Isaiah Sataden is going to be a good player. I don't know when, but it could be Cincinnati. It could be next year. I don't know, but he's done a really good job. Caught a nice ball today for a touchdown. Bates is a really good kicker. I mean, really good kicker. It's always Cam Little, but they're both really good kickers. And Max is kind of settled in a little bit. There's good competition there with Max and Reed.
Coach, saw you over there with the tight ends when they were working on blocking. You told Trey Knox he was doing a good job. I'm curious how far he's come as a blocker because we've talked about him, gaining weight, putting pounds on over the off season. But as far as blocking, how do you think he's, getting better there?
Blocking success has went way up. Willingness to block has always been there. I mean, he's always been a willing guy to block. But he didn't have, he's 245 pounds versus 212 or 17 or 20. So obviously his physicality, his strength's better. But he's always been willing. He's always been a tough kid. But he's really come into, I'm a tight end. I think I can help the team there. I think I can help myself in the future there. He's bought into, he wants to start on at least 2 special teams. He's really locked in. I do believe it's team first, but I think, if he understands if he can start on some special teams, catch him, got a nice pass today and the high red. So he's really improved that, but he's always wanted to, but now he physically can do it.
Also, Warren Thompson in one-on-ones, he got the best of Hudson Clark a couple times. I'm curious. I feel like we haven't talked about him as much as we have maybe Landers or Hazelwood. Just what have you seen from him now that he's in year 2 with Arkansas? As
improved as anybody. He was a guy to this point now. And I think it'll continue. I think he's in a really good space. I think he's comfortable. I think he went through a year last year where he didn't know if he wanted to be here, go home, who's my friends. He had a lot of things going on, I think, last year. You'll have to talk to him, but I think he's in a good space. He's always been very talented, but he's catching the contested ball and catching some, you go, man, how'd he catch that one? And he's always been fast. He hadn't always used it, but he is now. So I've been really pleased with him. You have to ask KJ about it because I think KJ looks for him now.
Yeah, Coach, we're talking with Jaden Hazelwood and Keytron the other day, and they said that Malik Hornsby hasn't been going like wide receiver meetings or anything or doing individual. He just kind of pops out there and is an athlete. Is there any plan to maybe start doing some of that with him, or what are your plans?
We were going to make it. Well, he's taking reps out there, but he's getting the coaching from KB, and obviously in the meeting room because it's right now for the most part it's a package with KJ, and we hash around that going into third down and getting into 10 personnel. And then you got 4 wideouts or 11 with Trey wide, not necessarily detached. That would be something that we would look into more after Saturday. But I'm gonna tell you something, Trey, and everything affects everything. I mean, it does. Something over here affects something over here. What's happened in the wide receiver room right now is Jaden Wilson started playing ball, and you've got Sataden coming on. You've got Warren Thompson playing as good as he has right now. Hazelwood's the same thing. He was a guy, honestly, in spring ball, and now he's a better football. You got Keytron, you got Matt Landers. So now all of a sudden you got all these wideouts that are playing pretty good ball. That doesn't mean that Malik won't continue to go out there. It's just it's harder to take him out there if we have to take somebody off the field. And my thinking before was that he would be by far the best one we had out there. If he still is, we're going to put him out there. If not, and we'll decide that a little bit after Saturday, a little bit, how much. We're going to put him out there, just how much.
I thought that's what you would say. Just looking about the team, the depth seems, at a high level, compared to like past Arkansas teams that we've covered. And, you filled in a lot of spots from transfer portal. You look out there and you're like, man, they're, pretty balanced. But I'm wondering if this is kind of like a new age across college football, especially in the SEC. Ole Miss signed 17 transfers. Is everybody, used to be like half your freshman class, where are they going to play? And now it's like 3 or 4 of them, where are they going to play? Is this just elevating the level of football across the conference with the portal and being able to fill in the gaps?
I don't know. I want to, as long as I can do it this way, because I think eventually it'll pay off. I'd like to sign 20, out of high school, and if you rounded it to 25, which is not the rule now, it goes to 85. But I'd like to keep, the foundation at 20 if I can. Well, if you do a better job in high school recruiting, you can continue to do the high school recruiting and bring in 5. We've got 9 guys that I believe that will make a difference on our football team that are transfers. I believe that. Now, Cade Fortin was one of those guys too. He's not starting right now, but he's making a big difference on our football team. So, yeah, I think so. And a little bit goes back to a little bit like junior college recruiting back in the day, where you go, I'm going to sign half the class junior college. Well, you're going to change your team one way or the other. You're going to change it to really good or not go, kind of go bad. I just don't want to take that chance. So I still want to continue to try to build the program around high school players. And if we get a Drew Sanders, or we have a chance at Atlanta Jackson, who came to Arkansas and visited, but we just at the time weren't winning enough games for them to win the pep rally. And they want to come back. We know they're good kids and good players. We'll continue to do that. But I might, Trey, but I don't think I'd ever go more than, I don't think I'd ever do the 15 and the 13 route, unless we just had a whole ton of seniors, and we had to go to 30-something scholarships.
You mentioned Saturday a couple of times. How big is Saturday as far as
Used to be
developing depth and
shy.
stuff?
You remember? And you'd come in late. You'd come hopping in late, but I like it. You're getting confidence.
I remember being
You're moving up the depth chart. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Andrew.
How big is Saturday from a depth perspective, kind of guys moving up and down depth chart, things like that?
I think it's big. I don't know that it's a whole lot more than today's practice, to be honest with you. There's a reason that you don't change the depth chart much unless injuries make you until after a scrimmage type situation, because you're trying to see if you have a gamer in there. A guy that's much better in a game than he is in practice, which it goes the other way too. Much worse in a game than he is. That's why I had open scrimmages that 2 years ago or whatever it was, spring, because I wanted to put KJ and Malik under with people in the stands and see how they perform. But I don't know if it'll make a whole lot of difference. I'll bet there'll be a change or two, come out of it. But I don't know if it'll be that big of a deal as far as depth goes.
Are there any maybe veterans or anybody that'd be kind of on limited snap counts, or how do you approach it?
Depends. I mean, if we tackle, yes. If we don't, then no. It just depends.
Coach, just kind of an off-the-wall question. How much better head coach are you because you spent those years with Kirby Smart than if you had not gone to Georgia?
Well, that's such a good question. I can go down a list. Number one, of the urgency of recruiting in the SEC. And I felt like I recruited hard when I was here before and all that, but not like your hair's on fire. And so that's one. The templates of practice are from Georgia, which were from, I'm assuming, Alabama. Setting back in 4 years, you can learn from everybody, but when your team is winning the SEC, they're winning the Rose Bowl, they're going to the national championship, you would assume more than they just have really good players. You would assume that they have a really good system. And so without Kirby, I can promise you I'd try my hardest, but I wouldn't be as successful. And I don't know if that makes me sound like we've done something. I don't mean that, but I wouldn't have the success that we've had I not gone to Georgia, and that's 100% real.
How much influence did he have you on forming a staff?
Not much. That was Kirby was worried about replacing me. Not worried, but he was trying to get me replaced because we had 4 or 5 kids that were committed. That were getting. I left a week or 2 before signing date, so he was trying to get his O-line coach in there so he could keep the kids that we had committed. So not a. I didn't ask him. I'm sure if I did, he would have helped me, but. At that point, when I got the job, when you interview for a job, you kind of got to have an idea, obviously, and because AD's going to want to ask you about, if you're an O-line coach, you ain't never had no head coach, and who can you get? And then, you say Barry Odom, he's been a coach. Okay, well, that'll help you, things of that nature. So I already had several of those guys.
Question about your O-line. Is Tykees making a move? And then who else, is pushing for playing time from the veteran guys that we already know?
Devin's beat up a little bit, Manuel. So he's beat up. Not. He practiced, but he's not full. He will be. He's not practicing, and so he right now you have Tykees, and Tykees going to play now. He's a good football player. He has not beat Dalton Wagner out yet, but he's going to play. And let me say this: if he does, Wagner's going to play too. So I mean, but those 7 are really having a really good camp. Obviously, we know Henderson's not out there right now, even though I think he's getting back close. I like the Kudus kid. I like the young Kudus kid. He's a really good player for us. So probably those 7 or 8 guys, and then along with Marion Harris. We've moved him from tackle to guard. Told Cody we probably ought to slow down on that, but with injuries, he can play both sides, so you're kind of piecing him. We're keeping him right now on the right side, but we're kind of piecing him at guard, kind of at tackle, which is not. Eventually, will help him. It's not helping him right now. It'll help him learn the game, But those are kind of the guys that. Chambly is he's playing with the 2s now when Devin Manuel's been beat up just a little bit, so Andrew's playing a lot with the 2s right now. He's going to be a good player too, but once we get healthy, I think we're going to have at least 3 tackles, 3 guards, and a whole bunch of centers. Bo, Ricky, Luke, Henderson, a whole bunch of them. Kudus can play it as well. They handle the ball every snap, so you got to have a whole bunch of them, and Cody believes that as well.
Thanks, guys.
Good guys. Good to see you.